9 days until the Eagles take on the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. And we said all along, we're going to talk about each and every part of this game. So far, we've celebrated. We've talked about the rosters, the coaching staff, the quarterback matchup. And today we'll get into our next step of the breakdown. We'll talk to Dave Zangaro in the 3 o'clock hour right after practice begins. We'll also hear from Jalen Hurts in the 4 o'clock hour as he addresses the media before they head out to New Orleans for the big game. But let's get to our word of the day. The word of the day today is intangibles. Intangibles. Now, we know that roster-wise, the Eagles are better, period. And we know that this Eagles coaching staff takes a back seat to no one. But there are some concerns out there amongst some fans in the city of Philadelphia that we need to address today. And we got to address the intangibles, the things that aren't X's and O's. So all the numerology people, today is your day. Because come Monday, we're back to reality. But today, we'll talk about some of those things. Now, let's look at recent Super Bowl history for this franchise. When Nick Foles,
how's everyone doing?
And Doug Peterson beat the Patriots, we learned that the intangibles were huge. They were huge. They just were. In hindsight, the Patriots had a better roster. In hindsight, the Patriots had a better coaching staff too. Didn't matter. The intangibles, that magic that team had, carried them to a Super Bowl victory, our only Super Bowl victory. I take nothing away from what Nick Foles did. He was heroic in that game. But before and after that, we didn't see that same magic. I take nothing away from what Doug Peterson did, delivering this franchise's only Super Bowl. Well, if we look at Doug before and after that, you wonder how he was able to pull it off. Or whether it was, Alshon and a lot of players. I mean, a lot of it that was lightning in a bottle for a lot of people. The intangibles carried the day. Fast forward to 2 years ago when you look at past Super Bowl performances. And roster, Eagles were just as good as the Chiefs, if not better. Right there, even matchup. I mean, it was only a 3-point game. Someone had to win. But when you look at the intangibles, we had a rat amongst us in that Jonathan Gannon. Okay? Shane Steichen and Gannon both became head coaches after that, as we well know. Both of them still employed, as we well know. But Steichen was above board, did his business, and they scored 35 points offensively in that game. Meanwhile, you had John Gannon doing clandestine meetings, being dishonest, lying, treacherous, doing everything but focusing on his job. And his defense went out there and gave up 38 points. And they lose the game. Why? Because I don't think Gannon, don't get me wrong, I don't think Gannon's a superstar coach. But I don't think he did his best effort because his heart wasn't in Philadelphia. His heart was out there in Arizona on a golf course, lying. And the Eagles have since got draft compensation, and we move on with our lives. But John Gannon threw off the mojo, okay? He threw it off. We didn't know that at the time that he was behind the scenes having meetings when he should have been focusing on film. Shane Steichen was able to still do his job. Gannon couldn't, which brings us to now. Kellen Moore has been above board about his plans. Look at the way these guys get along. Nick Sirianni has put things together. He should be 2 years wiser. He's been through adversity. I believe this time the intangibles on the Eagles side. And I don't believe that the referees are on the take. I do not believe that. We will discuss that today. So in addition to having just as good a coaching staff, in addition to having a better roster, I also think that the mythical things are on our side. So, Ricky Bo, I expect us to win the game.
That's the expectation. So you all know Andy Reid's a great coach. I think Nick Sirianni has proven that he's a really good coach. He is pulling this team out of the depths. When you really think back to last year and those final weeks of the season and the in the playoff game last season, those were dark days. And how do you get out of it? You need a good head coach that has a good head on his shoulder that could pull you out. And this team was pulled out by Nick Sirianni. That's first and foremost. So I look at Andy Reid. It's an impossible comparison right now because Andy Reid has won Super Bowls. He's been there. He's done that. But with Nick Sirianni, I love the fact that he has come out and said, you know what? I took notes. I understood where we were. And I took notes on what we needed to do, what we did right, what we did wrong. And he's not going to make the same mistakes twice going back to the Super Bowl. That's number one, and that's just preparation-wise. You bring up the whole Gannon thing. Gannon was a joke. I'm sorry. That guy, he didn't make adjustments in that game. As a matter of fact, if he did make adjustments, they went haywire. And you know what? He was just worried about his new job. And sometimes people get caught up in themselves. He did not get caught up in the team. He should have been caught up in the team going into a Super Bowl game. That was absolutely a pathetic coaching job on his part in that Super Bowl. Now you look to today, people will say, well, Kellen Moore's going through the same thing. He's not. He's not. Because he has already let everybody know that he's looking for a job, that he's already interviewed for the job. And quite frankly, let's not be stupid, he's got the job coming up for the Saints. And the way I look at this is that he knew the same thing going into the NFC Championship game. What did he do in that game? He led his offense to 55 points. Are you kidding me? That's a guy that wants to win. You don't think he wants a Super Bowl ring right now? He absolutely does. And then his next thought will be, how do I get one as head coach? I don't see any quitting him. I don't see any quitting his offense. And, I mean, if you go even further, you look up and down the line of the special teams and what they've done in the last few weeks with the fumbles on the kickoffs and being there and hawking the ball. That's what you need in a playoff game. That's what you need in the Super Bowl, somebody to turn things around. Maybe a special teams guy turns things around.
610-632-0975. Not so much about the X's and O's today. Nope. Not necessarily about blocking and tackling and special teams today. What it's about is the other things. The other things. We've had people say numerology because of birthdays. We've said all these other things. The referees are going to play a factor. All of those things right now. The sports gods, not real religion, the sports gods, are they shining down on us or are they shining down on the three-peat? Thanks so much, everybody, for watching. Really appreciate it. If you want more of this content, make sure you like and subscribe. And you know you can do that kind of over here if you want more of the best show ever.